had some questions over the past few weeks about the big advantage of the HEXA file system. Everybody's asking, is it faster than square ground? Is it going to replace round ground? Is it going to replace square ground? I don't know. It's probably going to be, turning out to be not quite as fast as what you have with square ground chain. But I will say this, it has a good chance of taking over a lot of round filers, because with a round file you have to hold the right up or down. So it's unless you really practice and understand the process, the 5 parts of the tooth, you're going to end up either hooking or back sloping or having a little bit of a rough edge on the tooth itself. Think about it, as the file is going through the tooth with a round file, you can keep the proper angles up and down this way. You can be able to follow the witness mark on top, for this one's 25 degrees on the top angle. As you file through, the upper corner or the chisel angle is being filed with the upper radius of the file. So if you lift up, you're going to back slope that tooth. If you press down, you're going to get down into the gullet and not touch on the chisel angle of the top. Proper size file is again important, because this is a Oregon 72 LG. Here I'm using a 7/32 file, and you can see that it's hitting that whole radius. But if I apply a little bit of down pressure, it goes away from that chisel angle. If I pick up on it or push back too hard, it starts to rock the tooth, and I'm thinning out. I'm causing a hook in the tooth. As you start to work on the tooth, that up and down motion is something that it's so important to have the perfect feel for that, because you got to think about a guide is going to keep it from going too high or too low. Here you can see if I roll back too much, I start to touch that upper edge, and you end up with a little bit of a flat spot right there. To do a pretty good job with a round file, and it's been used for years and years. But the new thought process of the HEXA is that the flat edge on it rests in the gullet area of the tooth. As you file back, then that stays flat, and more or less the angles on the side of the HEXA file then cut the proper angles into the cutting radius here on the side plate. The advantage of the HEXA file. Now this is the STIHL 36 RH. It's the HEXA ground chain, and the file here fitting into it, flat side on the bottom, an indicator on the top to follow your top witness mark, and more or less it sits at one height in the tooth as it's filed back. And it is showing to be a little bit faster, as much as 10% they say, in different wood fibers. I do know that it's very smooth and that it still bores very well, and it's very, very easy and quick to file with the HEXA file. As long as you have it down in that bottom area or gullet area of the tooth and you file through, maintaining the angle of your witness mark, you're going to end up with a very satisfactory filing. Your depth gauge has to be set as normal. As the wear goes back, the point's going to drop, and the depth gauge has to be lowered to maintain its cutting speed. So far, it's quite impressive. But hopefully that answers some of your questions about the HEXA tooth. Good sawing.